Let's get to Congressman Dave Brat, 7th District, Virginia Republican. Dave, you're on with the John Fredericks Radio Show. We're live today in Doha, Qatar, where we'll be all week on our Middle Eastern swing. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Yeah, wow, congratulations. Great job, John.
Thanks. Congressman, let me just ask you this question. Let's start with the firing of Dan McCabe. Obviously, there's a Virginia connection because that's where he lives. Also, his wife, Dr. Jill McCabe, was recruited by the Democrats. She ran for state senate against Dick Black. McAuliffe dumped $700,000 of his PAC money into her campaign. Some people say that might have influenced Dan McCabe, the husband, for not really pursuing the Hillary Clinton emails. You know, others say it didn't matter. He just spent that money no matter who the candidate was. But the fact that Jeff Sessions fired him a day before his full retirement for ostensibly lying to his own investigators, do you think that was the right thing to do or not? And why? Or why not?
Yeah, and unfortunately, the mainstream media doesn't get the news reporting right? And so the firing was called on by the FBI Inspector General over that area, not by Sessions or the executive or the president. And so the problem we have in the country right now is everything has become politicized. And the way you see how politicized is about 10 FBI senior political appointees have either been fired or removed from their slot or downgraded. 10 senior FBI, right? And so these are our most trusted institutions. The FBI, the CIA, John Brennan over the weekend sent out the most scathing language about the President of the United States, former CIA director at the time, back with all the Hillary issues involved. And so this is hurting the fabric of the country because everyone knows everything has been politicized when these are supposed to be your objective agencies. And so he was caught. The Inspector General report will have all the evidence. And it's not just a matter of firing. I mean, when you go on the mainstream Sunday morning shows, they put the burden on the conservative for why did you fire someone who lied and misled, didn't tell the truth, and misrepresented, wasn't fully forthcoming. And he's like, I've never had it put to me that way, right? Because the Inspector General said he should be fired, and his own colleagues said he should be fired. And so that's the short answer. And day by day by day, right, we haven't even got to Schrock and all these other folks who have texts and emails on the record saying they're biased against the president and their goal is to take him out. When you got the FBI and former CIA leader acknowledging and fully showing how they feel about a president who's duly elected by the American people and their goal is to take him out, that cannot stand in this country, right? So you can be upset about it, you can protest about it, but when you're in our most significant security organizations, and you've got a bias to the point that you want to take out a sitting president of the United States, it doesn't matter what party you're in. And Democrats should be equally upset too, because in this case, there's evidence that they harmed the Hillary, and we're digging in on the Hillary campaign and leaking information on the Hillary campaign as well. And so everybody ought to be outraged and frustrated, and I hope that's where everybody is.
Well, you would think everybody is. I guess I have to tell you, Congressman, when I think I've seen it all, something happens, even at my age, and it's like, well, I didn't see it all. So today, we're reporting on the fact that a number of Democratic colleagues of yours in the body that you represent have tweeted out to McCabe, who has lied to his own investigators as the number 2 guy and actually could get indicted for that over time, offering him jobs on the Senate Intel Committee, on the Senate Judiciary Committee, within the Democratic Party. What world am I living in?
Well, that's people are going to have to make up their mind on this, right? When you see everybody circling the wagon, along with our major institutions becoming politicized, and even the schools becoming politicized, I mean, everything. If that's the direction you want to go in, vote for a bigger and bigger and bigger government, right? I mean, I don't get that. And so people are going to have to make up their minds. If you spin the globe, socialism has failed everywhere it's been tried. And in the United States, the very Democrat states and cities are imploding. They're all bankrupt. And people are leaving to come to states like Virginia and the Sun Belt and to conservative states that are more well-run. And so you can only hope that people are thinking about the welfare of their kids over the long run when you have major institutions caving. And Democrats are, if that's true, I haven't heard all those reports, but if they're saying I'm going to hire someone who potentially broke the law and was fired by the IG, you're going to have to make up your mind. What are they saying is more important by saying that? The long-term health of the country or their political machine where they want to show everyone's protected no matter what you do. Even if you break the law, we'll hire you. That sounds way off to me.
I don't know how you could call it anything else other than that, but I was just shocked by it. And if it was like Luis Gutierrez, who's retiring or he's going on to do something else, and very partisan, it really wouldn't have impacted me. But there was a number of Democrats that went on Twitter and offered him a job. I'm dumbfounded by it. And I tell you, the message that sends to everybody. And let me ask you something else. Isn't Michael Flynn, didn't he have to pay millions of dollars in attorney's fees for essentially doing the same thing? So what, now there's supposed to be a double standard? It's like if you criticize Trump, it doesn't matter what you do, the Democrats are going to give you a free ride.
Yeah, well, I think it's even worse if you just do the simple ethics. Flynn was fired for telling a lie on an unrelated matter to the case. And that's going to be looked at now precisely because of this firing, because this host of characters were involved in going after him. And so that case is going to get a new look now. In this case, there's no question that the content is linked to the hot issue of the day, the campaigns of 16, Hillary and Trump. Mm-hmm. And McCabe and Comey, et cetera, are in the middle of all sorts of stuff. And it looks like one of the two, their testimony conflicts. McCabe and Comey, someone is not telling the truth on some key issues. And so that's going to be brought forth probably in another special counsel coming up, and we're going to find the truth of the matter. And so I think the American people deserve this. Anyone who's broken the law should stand before the law. We're a nation of laws, and if we lose that, it's troubling. And so both sides ran against the swamp.
Right.
Bernie all the way through Trump. The American people are sick of this double standard when it comes to the law. And so the more they learn and find out what's going on here, the more they're going to see the cronyism where you step in as a party and pick winners and losers, right? And you throw your support, you pre-select people to support the institutions that you own politically instead of representing the will of the American people. I think the American people are sick of it, and they're seeing plenty of hard evidence now as to what's going on. And so the answer is to downsize the federal government. That is the answer. If you want to have less anxiety and less of this anger, then don't encourage more money up in the swamp, right? You have to have less government, less socialism, and bring the power back to the states and the localities like our founders and geniuses knew. And we got to get back to that genius.
All right, Dave, I know you have to go. Just one quick question. The president over the weekend putting pressure on the U.S. Senate to change their rules so they can get rid of the 60-vote cloture rule. He says, look, until you do that, we're simply not going to get anything done, and the stakes are too high. A lot of the institutional senators really chafing at that, saying, well, these are our rules. You're not going to tell us how to run our body. Where do you come down on this, Dave?
Yeah, well, I totally agree. We can't get anything done, right? People always say go to the middle, and why can't you guys compromise? And this is why you can't compromise. And even if you could compromise on the budget, I always say you had all Democrats. What will happen to the budget? It'll blow up, right? They will want increased spending across the board. Even under Republican spending goes up. So the American people are just, no matter what they want, let's say they think there's this golden mean right in the middle. And if you go to the middle, you'll find the answer. The answer is not in the middle right now because the whole thing is corrupt. And there is no answer, right? So you got to break this up. You got to break that Senate rule. There's other ways of going about it, too. Mo Brooks has a bill which would say you cannot have a government shutdown anymore, right? From now on, you just deem the number. If you don't have the votes for a budget this year, it just goes back to last year's number, and so you always have a budget. So there's no shutdown. Because that right now is what's causing all of the havoc.
Shutdown.
When you can have a block of the budget, if you don't get your way, right? And one senator can do this now, right? They're a majority of one. And so we got a bill in that says, hey, if you have a shutdown scenario, no shutdowns, just deem the last year's number, stays in place until you reach a budget agreement. And that would have the same outcome. And that would force us to compromise and move forward where everyone agrees, or else you just go to last year's budget, and that'll save us a nickel, which is needed.
It sounds like, Congressman, that you're in favor of that. You would vote in favor of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Bill from Brooks.
That's been the problem all year. We're going on $21 trillion in debt on the backs of the kids. We got $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities. Medicare and Social Security are going to go broke. The kids are not going to get those systems as they operate today unless you change it. And all of this is being hampered by the Senate rule. We can't get anything done. Obamacare premiums are still through the roof. No one can afford health care. We can't change that until you get rid of the Senate rule.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank 7th District Republican Congressman Dave Brat for being with us today. We're live in Doha, Qatar. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. More information, go to davebrat.com, davebrat.com.